Welcome to this course on registering for GST. GST is a tax on domestic consumption. We pay GST when we purchase goods from a GST registered business or when we import goods into India. If you are a GST registered business, you need to charge GST on all the goods and services that you supply in India. Do you need to register for GST? Well, it depends upon whether you are an existing registrant or a new registrant. If you are an existing registered taxpayer under VAT, Central Excise or Service Tax laws, you will be automatically migrated to GST and given a provisional GST. However, you would be required to submit some additional documents and information within a period of 6 months. Once the required additional details are furnished, the provisional GST registration is finalized. However, failure to do so will result in cancellation of the provisionally granted GST. It's important to note that the input service distributors who are registered under an earlier law shall be required to apply for a fresh registration. In case of new registrations, the process is different. If you are a supplier in states other than Northeast or Sikkim, it is compulsory for you to register for GST when your aggregate turnover exceeds a threshold of 18 lakh rupees. However, you are not liable to pay tax until your aggregate turnover crosses 20 lakh rupees. If you are a supplier in Northeast or Sikkim, you have to register when the turnover exceeds a threshold of 9 lakh rupees. However, you are not liable to pay tax until your aggregate turnover crosses 10 lakh rupees. A supplier can also register voluntarily even when he is operating well within the threshold. This enables him to claim and pass on the input tax credit seamlessly. So what exactly constitutes aggregate turnover? It refers to total value of supplies made in the course or furtherance of your business. Refer to the table to find out what kind of supplies to include and exclude while calculating the aggregate turnover. There are also certain categories of persons liable to get registered irrespective of the threshold. They are persons making an interstate taxable supply, casual taxable persons, reverse charge taxable persons, non-resident taxable persons, persons who are required to deduct tax at source, persons who supply goods or services on behalf of other registered taxable persons, whether as an agent or otherwise, input service distributors, persons who supply goods or services other than branded services through e-commerce operator, every e-commerce operator, an aggregator who supplies services under his brand name or his trade name, and such other person or class of persons as may be notified by the central government or state government authorities on the recommendations of the GST Council. A supplier is not liable for registration under GST law if his aggregate turnover consists of only goods or services that are either exempted or outside the purview of GST, like liquor for human consumption. Every person liable to take registration will have to get registered separately for each of the states where he has a business operation. However, he could choose to have a separate registration for each business vertical within a state. What this means is that the current centralized service tax registrants will have to obtain a separate registration in each state. Multiple applications can be filed at one go where a taxable person seeks registration in more than one state or for more than one business vertical located in a single or multiple states. Once a supplier is liable to register for GST, he is required to apply for GST by submitting a registration application form on the GSTN portal within 30 days of his liability. Following is a list of documents to be uploaded. Once a complete application is submitted online on GSTN, the application is scrutinized by both the central and state authorities. A registration has to be granted within 3 days if neither the central nor the state authorities have an objection. If they have an objection, it will be communicated to the supplier and he then has 7 days to reply. Once he replies, the authorities then have 7 more days to take a decision. If any of the authorities still have an objection, they could refuse to grant the registration, but only after giving due opportunity to the supplier to present his side of the case. Cancellation by one authority is deemed to be cancellation by the other. That is, if CGST authorities accept a registration, but let's say SGST authorities reject the registration, then the whole registration is deemed cancelled in toto. If the registration is granted, the registration certificate is automatically generated by the GSTN and the taxpayer can download it from there. And this is how a GSTN looks. Few points with regards to effective date of registration. If the application is filed within 30 days of liability, effective date of registration is the date of liability, else it is the date of grant of registration. The input tax credit on inputs held in stock will be permitted only if the taxpayer has applied for registration within 30 days from the date he became liable for registration. Now, registration comes with both benefits and obligations. Benefits include the ability to collect taxes and pay to the government, the ability to claim input tax credit on one's purchases, and also the ability to pass on the input tax credit to one's buyers. Obligations include timely filing of returns, including nil returns, timely payment of taxes, proper maintenance of purchase and sales details for verification by the IRS, subjection to periodic audits by the IRS, and the need to display GST registration number on all the invoices. There is also a penalty for failure to obtain a registration, and it is as below.